Apple is about to enter the foldable phone race in a way that could reset the entire smartphone industry. According to the latest leaks, Apple's first foldable iPhone, widely rumored to be called the iPhone Ultra Fold, is expected to launch in September 2026 alongside the iPhone 18 lineup. And if these details are even close to accurate, this isn't just Apple trying foldables. This is Apple attempting to redefine what a foldable smartphone should be. Thinner, stronger, more premium, and far more practical than what most people associate with foldable devices today. So in this video, we're breaking down every major iPhone Ultra Fold leak: the design, the displays, the thickness, the titanium build, the A20 chip, the cameras, Touch ID, battery size, iOS features built for folding screens, and, most importantly, why this foldable iPhone could change everything we know about smartphones. Let's start with the biggest question. What exactly is the iPhone Ultra Fold? Leaks suggest Apple is going with a book-style foldable design, meaning it opens horizontally like a passport and transforms from a normal phone into a small tablet. This is the same general idea as devices like the Galaxy Z Fold series, but Apple's rumored dimensions and engineering choices point to a totally different philosophy. Make it feel like an iPhone when closed and a mini iPad when opened, without compromises. And the displays are where this iPhone foldable story gets serious. The inner display is rumored to be around 7.76 to 7.8 inches, using an LTPO OLED panel with a 120Hz refresh rate and a 4.3 aspect ratio. That 4:3 ratio matters because it's productivity-friendly, great for reading, browsing, multitasking, editing, and viewing content in a format that feels closer to an iPad than a stretched-out phone screen. On the outside, the cover display is rumored to be around 5.3 to 5.5 inches, also LTPO OLED at 120 Hz. And the outer screen is expected to use ceramic shield protection, which would be a major move for durability, especially for a device that will be handled, opened, closed, and carried daily. Resolution leaks also paint a premium picture. The inner screen could land around 2713 by 1920, delivering roughly 428 pixels per inch. The outer display is rumored around 2088 by 1422. Translation: Apple is aiming for sharp, flagship-level clarity on both screens. Not a main screen is great, but the cover screen feels secondary. Experience. Now let's talk about the one spec that could become the iPhone Ultra Fold's biggest flex: thickness. Leaks claim the iPhone Ultra Fold could be ultra thin when opened, somewhere around 4.5 mm to 4.8 mm. That is insanely thin for a foldable smartphone. Fold it closed and it's expected to be around 9mm to 9.5 mm, although early dummy units reportedly reached up to around 11mm. If Apple actually ships a foldable iPhone at roughly 9mm folded, that changes the entire foldables are too bulky conversation. For years, foldable phones have been cool in concept but hard to recommend because they feel thick, heavy, and sometimes awkward in a pocket. Apple's rumored engineering goal is clear: make the foldable iPhone feel normal to carry. And to make that happen, Apple is reportedly using a premium material strategy. Leaks suggest a titanium alloy structural core for strength, combined with aluminum elements for heat dissipation. That's classic Apple thinking. Design meets thermal management meets rigidity, all in one. Foldables put massive stress on frames and hinges over time, so materials matter more here than on any standard slab phone. But the real make-or-break part of any foldable smartphone is the hinge and the crease. This is where Apple is expected to go all in. The iPhone Ultra Fold is rumored to feature a redesigned, highly durable hinge mechanism built to withstand heavy, long-term folding without loosening or failing. And on top of that, Apple is reportedly working to minimize crease visibility, one of the biggest reasons many people still avoid foldables. Because let's be honest, foldables have been around for years, and the crease is still a thing. Some brands have improved it, but it's still visible, still noticeable, and still a constant reminder that you're using new, fragile display tech. If Apple can genuinely reduce the crease to the point where it's hard to notice in normal use, that alone could push foldable phones into mainstream demand. Now, let's get into performance because the iPhone Ultra Fold isn't expected to be a first-gen experiment. It's expected to be Apple's new ultra-premium flagship. The processor is rumored to be the Apple A20 chip, built on TSMC's advanced 2nm process. If that's true, we're looking at major gains in performance per watt, exactly what a dual-display foldable needs. More screen area means more power usage, and Apple's biggest advantage has always been efficiency. RAM is expected at around 12 GB, and some leaks even suggest Apple could integrate memory directly on the SoC wafer for tighter performance and efficiency. Storage options are rumored to include 256 GB, 512 GB, and 1TB, because Apple knows exactly who this phone is for. Power users, creators, travelers, business owners, and people who want one device that can replace two. And that brings up the biggest strategic point. Apple doesn't want the iPhone Ultra Fold to be a niche product. Apple wants this to be a core pillar of the iPhone lineup. Launching it alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max in September 2026 sends a message. Apple is not testing the waters. Apple is setting a new tier, the Ultra tier. A device above Pro Max, a phone that's also a tablet, a productivity machine that fits in your pocket. Now let's talk cameras, because the leaks here are surprisingly realistic. The iPhone Ultra Fold is rumored to feature a dual rear camera setup, a 48MP wide camera and a 48MP ultra-wide camera. And noticeably, there may be no telephoto lens. At first, that sounds like a downgrade, until you remember what foldables prioritize: thinness, hinge space, battery placement, and internal layout. A telephoto module takes room, and Apple may be choosing a smarter balance. Keep the camera's flagship quality, but design the entire device around portability and usability rather than stacking hardware until the phone becomes a brick. For selfies and video calls, leaks suggest something ambitious: a 24MP under-display camera on the inner screen, plus a separate punch-hole camera on the outer display. If Apple actually delivers a good under-display camera, that's another industry shift moment, because under-display cameras have historically been a compromise in image quality. Apple won't ship it unless it meets a certain bar, so if this is real, expect Apple to market it as a cleaner, more immersive display experience without sacrificing usability. Now here's one of the most interesting leaks of all. Biometrics: the iPhone Ultra Fold is rumored to use Touch ID integrated into the power button, with no Face ID True Depth Array. And the reason is simple: thinness. Face ID hardware takes space, and foldables already fight for millimeters everywhere. A side-mounted Touch ID is thin, fast, reliable, and practical in both folded and unfolded modes. And honestly, many users would welcome Touch ID's return, especially if it's implemented at a high level and works seamlessly across the entire iOS experience. Now let's get to battery, because battery life is one of the biggest weaknesses in foldable phones. Leaks point to a dual-cell battery design somewhere between 5,400 mAh and 5,800 mAh. That's a big battery. Exactly what you'd expect for a device powering two 120Hz OLED displays. But the bigger story is how Apple manages it. If the A20 really is a 2nm chip, and if iOS is optimized specifically for foldable behavior, Apple could deliver battery performance that actually feels like a real iPhone, consistent, predictable, and reliable. Because for many people, the reason they avoid foldables isn't the price. It's the fear of compromises, battery anxiety, software glitches, fragile screens, awkward aspect ratios, and apps that don't know how to behave. And that leads us to the true battlefield: software. Hardware is only half the story. Apple's biggest advantage is iOS, and the iPhone Ultra Fold will live or die by how well iOS handles the fold.